Battle of the Sexes, a biographical sports drama that details the true events surrounding Billie Jean King and a famous Battle of the Sexes match that she had with Bobby Riggs. And going into this film, I was very much looking forward to it because I'm a big fan of tennis. I'm a big fan of tennis films. I saw Borg versus McEnroe kind of last month. I enjoyed that movie. I thought it was good, but I didn't love it. I didn't think it was great. But I've been looking forward to seeing this movie for a while because I'm a big fan of Emma Stone, obviously, and Steve Carell. And when I first saw that picture, it was first released a while back with Emma Stone as Billie Jean King and Steve Carell as Bobby Riggs, it looked fantastic. They looked completely different. They looked exactly like the characters that they were playing. And from that moment on, I thought, I have got to see this movie. This could be another kind of like Oscar nomination or win for Emma Stone. She looks that good in this role. Coming out, yeah, I thought this movie was really great. And it's not like one of the best films of the year or anything. I don't think this is going to get like, massive amount of nominations or anything at the award ceremonies, but I did think it was really good and it did deliver on everything I wanted it to, and I actually really enjoyed this movie. Now I could see how someone could come out and say, it was just alright or wasn't that great, but I actually really enjoyed it and I thought it was a really good time. And yes, maybe it could have gone a little deeper into the kind of social issues there, but I think it touched on them enough for me. It did explore Billie Jean King's sexuality, it did explore the girls not getting the same amount of pay as the men, but it didn't dwell on those kind of issues, and that's what I liked about it. It did touch on those kind of social themes and issues, and it did address them, and it did bring them up, and they did play a big part in the film, but it wasn't all about that. They weren't overwhelming, it didn't take over, it wasn't really political film or anything. It was a really kind of fun, light-hearted, entertaining film, but at the same time it did touch on those important social themes and issues. Yeah, maybe it could have gone a little deeper and been a little bit more kind of serious about those kind of issues, but for me it touched on them enough, and I liked how it was a little bit more subtle. Like, it wasn't really in your face, it wasn't like throwing these things at you. It touched on them and it addressed them and it brought them up, and it was very kind of timely, especially watching a film dealing with those kind of issues, and we're still kind of dealing with that now. Obviously it's not as bad now as it was then, but it was very timely watching a film now in this day and age that was dealing with those kind of social issues. And I like the fact that it was done in a lot more of a subtle way, and it wasn't really thrown at us, and it didn't take over the film. I could see how someone could maybe say, I think it could have gone a little deeper, and maybe I could agree with that, but for me it touched on them and addressed them enough, while still at the same time giving us a kind of fun, entertaining movie. And of course, I had to start off with talking about the performances. Emma Stone again knocks it out of the park, and she continues to be one of my favourite actresses working today. I mean, I'm not sure about best actresses of all time, but as far as my personal favourite actresses working today, she is one of my kind of top 3 favourites at the moment. I adored her in La La Land, and obviously she won for that. I could maybe see her getting another nomination for this. I don't know if it's definitely going to happen for sure or not, but it might do, because she was really great. She disappeared into that role. She was almost unrecognisable as Billie Jean King, and she really was convincing as Billie Jean King. You genuinely believe she was Billie Jean King. She did a really incredible job. But also Steve Carell as Bobby Riggs. Again, he looked almost exactly the same as that person, and he did an incredible job as well, and it was very kind of a much more of a kind of comedic performance from him. I mean, there was some drama to it, but he obviously brought the humour and was very funny, and just the interplay between Bobby Riggs and Billie Jean King I thought was great, and how the movie explored that, and explored the fact that Bobby Riggs was actually just a regular kind of nice normal guy, really, and it was kind of all a bit of an act and a bit of putting on a bit of a show. And then there's another character in this film who's kind of like Emma Stone's boss at the beginning, who is more of the kind of like the sexist one, and he's more of the one who really is like that, where Bobby Riggs is a bit of a show. And there's even a line in the film where Emma Stone says to this guy, played by Bill Pullman I believe, with Bobby it's just an act, but with you it's real. And I also loved how this film was a very kind of crowd-pleasing and rousing take on this true story, because they could have gone on a lot more of a serious route, but they did go more light-hearted, and it was a very fun and entertaining film to watch, and especially when we got to the big final match at the end, because you're really invested, you're with Billie Jean the whole way, and then we get this really great match at the end, and it's not filmed in an overly stylistic way. It's basically filmed as if we're actually watching this match, but I think that was effective and it did work. With a film like Borg vs McEnroe, it was a lot more like the camera was right in there. We were right with the players. With this, it was a little further back, like it was actually just watching a tennis match being filmed. But I think it did work because it felt like we were there in the cinema as an audience actually watching the match, the real match, and so we could really get invested. And some of the crowd in the actual cinema were kind of clapping and cheering along as if we were actually watching the real tennis match. I thought that was really great. I just loved how this film was a very kind of crowd pleasing, a very kind of rousing take on this true story. It was a very fun and entertaining film to watch. Yes, it wasn't as serious and deep as maybe as it could have been, but I like the fact that it was fun and it was kind of crowd pleasing, it was uplifting, and it was entertaining to watch. I wouldn't have wanted it to have been more serious and gone more deep into those issues. I like the fact that they did address this kind of social and political themes and issues while still balancing it with being a very kind of fun, light-hearted and entertaining film. I also like the fact that the film explored kind of Billie Jean's sexuality, and I didn't know it was going to do that. I thought it was going to be just about the tennis and just about this kind of rivalry between Billie Jean and Bobby Riggs, and although the film was all about that and it all revolved around that, it also touched on Billie Jean's sexuality, and I liked how that was handled. It was done in a very kind of tasteful and respectful way, and it was very well acted by Emma Stowell and also Andrea Riseborough, I think is how you pronounce her name, as the love interest in the film. And I think that was really well done, and it added a kind of element to the film that I wasn't expecting. I didn't know whether the film was going to go there, whether it was going to address that or not, but it did, and I applaud them for doing that, and I think it really worked, how they kind of balance between Billie Jean kind of struggling to come to terms with her sexuality and her kind of this sexual awakening that she's going on throughout the film, as well as dealing with this kind of conflict and drama with Bobby Riggs and going in the match against him. And I think it was all very well done, all very well balanced. It wasn't a spectacular film. It didn't blow me away. I can't see this film sweeping the Oscars or anything like that, but I think it did what it set out to do. It did what it said on the tin. I really enjoyed it. I can maybe see how someone could come out of this movie and say, yeah, well, it wasn't that great, but I thought it was a really good film. I had a lot of fun with it. Yes, maybe it could have gone a little deeper into kind of the social issues there, but for me, it touched on them enough and it addressed them enough to the point where I think it did work. So overall, I'm going to give Battle of the Sexes a solid 4 stars. And there we have it. That's my review of Battle of the Sexes. Have you seen the film yet? And if so, what do you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, if you like this and you haven't already, be sure to click subscribe to see more. If you missed my last film review, be sure to go ahead and click over here to catch up on my last review, or perhaps down here to catch up on another one of my recent videos. But with that said, I've been David O'Sullivan. I'll see you next time.